guys, so in this video we will discuss about carbohydrate metabolism, cellular respiration, and fermentation. So in this for this discussion we can answer these two questions, like how do we harvest chemical energy from carbohydrates and how is ATP produced in our body. We all know that your ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the one that is the energy currency of our body, right? So uh, energy flow and is conserved as always. It cannot be created nor destroyed. Okay, so it is transformed or recycled to other forms of energy. So kagaya nito, the light energy coming from the sun will be converted to organic molecules via photosynthesis in chloroplast of plant cells. Now these organic molecules na ginawa ng plants kasamang oxygen is needed naman ng animal cells ng mitochondria for cellular respiration. And this cellular respiration accounts for yields the ATP, which is produces heat and energy. So ang output naman nito is CO2 at water, itong cellular respiration. At yun naman ngayon yung needed for the photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, carbon dioxide, water, light, energy. So yan. So it's just a recycled process. So let's go back to catabolic pathways. So from the words of cut, pinuputol, it's a degradation pathway. So in the end, it produces energy. That's why it's exergonic in the form of ATP. Okay, nag-yield ng ATP ang ilan sa mga catabolic pathways. Okay, so example ng catabolic pathways would be fermentation, which is just a partial degradation of sugars. Aerobic respiration, which is complete degradation of sugars to uh, uh, oxygen and water. So it occurs with oxygen. So from the Greek word air, which means air, and bios, which means life. So aerobic, bioic, okay? While anaerobic is the degradation of sugars, complete degradation done by prokaryotes, occurs without oxygen din. Okay, so kagaya ng fermentation. So your cellular respiration, okay, so itong nabanggit kanina dito, is the collective term for aerobic and anaerobic respiration. But for this module, we will what we will mean by aerobic respiration is cellular respiration, or the other way around. Pag sinabi kong cellular respiration, it pertains to aerobic respiration. Alright? So please take note of that. So your aerobic respiration is like a combustion of gasoline. Ayan, oh. Yung naggasolina ka, di ba? So yun yung fuel mo. Okay? So yung respiration kasi, ang fuel natin doon would be your food. O yung mga kinakain nating organic compounds, kagaya ng carbohydrates nga, proteins, or fats. So together with oxygen, it will be converted to CO2, H2O, and the energy that is yielded that will be derived from the food that we eat, right? So the major fuel for animals is glucose. Okay? So glucose yun. It's a sugar, right? It's a monosaccharide, as we remember. So your oxidation, okay, of your glucose molecule yields 6 moles of carbon dioxide, 6 moles of water, and energy. And its delta G is negative 686 kilocalories per mole. Ma-realize natin na siya ay exergonic. Okay? At makikita natin this is a redox process because your C6H12O6, your glucose, is oxidized to CO2 while your oxygen is reduced to water. Okay? So that's a redox reaction na yung aerobic respiration. So, yun nga, this is a stepwise process, itong redox reaction na to. So, hindi yung aerobic respiration na ginagawa ng ating katawan ay stepwise. So, hindi yan basta-bastang yaan na yun. So, may mga pinagdadaanan pa yung hidden steps na i-discuss natin later on. So, it also involves activation energy. So, bakit? Because pag wala yung activation energy na yan to produce this, edi mangyayari, mag-oxidize agad-agad yan. Okay? Readily na pagka na-expose agad si glucose with oxygen, ay magre-react agad. So, hindi natin gusto yon. Gusto natin stepwise yan. Okay? So, ganyan yung adaptation na develop ng ating katawan. Okay? Ng living organisms. So, sabi ko nga, it's a redox process. It's a redox reaction. So, electrons are involved. So, as glucose is oxidized to CO2 and oxygen is reduced to water, so electrons from the loss and the gain of electrons are passed through electron carriers like NAD plus or your nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide na nabanggit ko na from previous modules din, right? So for example, you have an alcohol that is oxidized. Okay? Oxidized yan, di ba? Dahil nag-gain ng oxygen bond from C single bond naging C double bond. Right? So this is an oxidation reaction. So in turn, your NAD plus ay marireduce to NADH. Okay? So NAD plus is the oxidized and then reduced form is your NADH. So oxidation and then reduction na nangyari kay NAD+. Okay? So with the aid of the enzyme dehydrogenase. Okay? So these electrons are passed through yun nga NAD+, but your electron transport chain causes the traveling of from glucose, okay, down to NADH, then the electron transport chain down to oxygen. Okay, kasi pagka ginawa nating isang step lang yan, okay, parang sasabog agad yung energy. Okay? So, isang malakihan at bultuhang energy yung nangyayari. Eh kung ito ay stepwise, kagaya ng sinabi ko nga, kung yan ay pasa-pasa, okay, by level, na nag-yield ng energy. So, mas gradual yung pag-yield at hindi mabibigla yung katawan at hindi rin kung ano lang yung kailangan ng katawan, edi yun lang yung nasusupply. Okay? So kaya mas ina-adapt ng katawan ang cellular respiration ng electron transport chain because yun nga hindi abrupt, okay? Yung reactions na to. Okay? So hindi basta-basta sasabog, right? Uti-uti laang. Okay? So this is an overview of cellular respiration. So your glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, citric acid cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation. These are actually the four major steps. Actually, 3 lang yan. Glycolysis, citric acid cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation. So this involves the production of your NADH and your ATP. Okay? So let's go, isa-isahin natin yan. So your glycolysis is the first step of cellular respiration. So glycolysis, lysis means splitting, sugar splitting. So in glycolysis, your glucose is splitted into two pyruvate. Okay, so ang glucose ay 6 carbon atoms, magiging 3 carbon atoms na lang yan na pyruvate. So 2 times 3 ay 6 pa rin, right? So this takes place in cytoplasm as you can see, nasa labas yan ng mitochondria mo. But syempre, it's inside the cell pa rin. So this is a 10-step process we will see later on. So stepwise din yan. Okay, so it has an energy investment phase because yun nga, kailangan activation energy. So it requires an input of ATP. So may investment ka pa rin mangyayari. So ang mapoproduce mo lang na ATP dito ay 4. Pero dahil nga nag-input ka ng ATP na dalawa, may net ATP ka ngayon, yung neto. Okay? Galing doon sa balance na dalawang ATP lang at dalawang NADH. As you will see, so ito yung glycolysis happens in the cytoplasm or the cytosol. So yun nga, yung glucose, ayan, hanggang sa naging dalawang moles na lang or dalawang molecules ng pyruvate dahil tatlong carbon yan. Forming your water also. So ito yung energy investment phase. So dalawang ATP yung ginagamit dito at yung payoff naman, so 4 plus 2 NADH plus NADH, okay? So adding this together, ayun nga, dalawang pyruvate, dalawang ATP, at dalawang NADH, dalawang water from one glucose molecule, right? So this is the 10 steps for glycolysis. I am not requiring you to memorize this one. So these 10 steps are catalyzed by a unique enzyme. So, alin ba dyan yung energy investment phase? So, dito yan sa step 1. This is the phosphorylation of your glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. At ito pang fructose 1,6, itong third step. Okay? The phosphorylation of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. So, your fructose is a hexose, right? So, it's a hexose, but it's a ketose. It's a ketohexose. So, from a hexose, aldohexose na glucose, naging fructose, which is a, yun nga, hexoketose na. Hexoaldose, naging hexoketose. Then, mahahati yan. Hexose, naging dalawang tatlong carbon, which is a triose. So, this is a aldotriose, while this one, your dihydroxyacetone, is a ketotriose. Okay? So, mangyayari ngayon, mako-convert yan from the triose or aldotriose or ketotriose na yon to pyruvate, which is, again, a molecule. Okay? Na tatlo ang carbon. 1, 2, 3. So, in all, yun nga, meron kang 2 moles of pyruvate na mapoproduce. At ayun, yung yielding naman ngayon ng ATP mo, ayun, no? ADP, naging ATP. ADP, naging ATP. Dalawa yan kasi naputol yung yung 6 carbon atoms mo. Okay? So, this is your preparatory phase and payoff phase. At lahat yan ay catalyzed with a special enzyme, unique enzyme. So, ayan, si step 1 ay kay si hexokinase and so on and so forth. Si step 10 ay si pyruvate kinase. Okay? So, after your glucose converted to pyruvate, yun nga yung glycolysis, your pyruvate will now be oxidized to acetyl-CoA. So, pyruvate will enter now the mitochondria via active transport. So, from galing sa cytosol, papasok ngayon inside your mitochondria. So, this is the link between glycolysis and the second major reaction, which is yun nga, citric acid cycle. So, ang nangyari lang dyan, pyruvate, this is a 3-step process wherein your pyruvate from 3 carbons, 1, 2, 3, magiging 2 na lang na carbons. Okay? So, dahil yung isang carbon na yun naging CO2 na. Okay? So, may yield ka na ngayon ng CO2 kaya talagang pinuproduce ng katawan natin ng CO2. So, meron din ditong oxidation ng NADH. Okay? Reduction pala, sorry, dahil ang na-oxidize ay pyruvate while your NADH will be the one being reduced. So may kakopol pa rin, di ba? Remember that? And papasok ngayon si coenzyme A. So isa siyang malaking protein na kakabit lang via a sulfur bond dito sa C-double bond O mo. Okay? Actually, this is what you call a thioester bond. Okay, so this is acetyl-CoA. Yan ngayon yung ma-involve dito sa citric acid cycle mo. So may na-yield ba tayong ATP sa oxidation ng pyruvate? Wala. So what we have yielded is just the 1 mole of NADH for 1 pyruvate molecule. Kung dalawang pyruvate molecule galing sa isang glucose, so that would be 2 also. 2 NADH for the oxidation of pyruvate to acetyl-CoA.
Now we're done with your glycolysis and the pyruvate oxidation. Let's now turn our attention to your citric acid cycle and oxidative phosphorylation on the next video.